Daniel purposed in his heart not to defile himself, verse 120, chapter 1, verse 8. Then in verse 20 of chapter 1, it says, and I like this, and in all matters of wisdom and understanding about which the king examined them, he found them. Now, you know the story about Daniel and the 3 Hebrew boys. They refused to eat the king's delicacies. They stood for, they had a conviction and they maintained it even though they were in an antagonistic environment. And as a result of that conviction, this is the key. This bears witness in a personal experience I had in corporate America. It says that they found them 10 times better than all the magicians, astrologers, and all who were in his realm. In other words, when Daniel purposed in his heart that I'm going to do it God's way, when he said, I'm a man of conviction, the Bible tells us that God honored that conviction by giving him an unusual aptitude. 8 times in the book of Daniel, his wisdom is referred to. And what's deep about the book of Daniel is his gifting was spiritual in that God gave him wisdom, but the expression of that gift was practical in that he was an administrator. That's powerful, because so many people think that the gifts and callings of God are just exclusively for meetings like this or church. But this tells us that Daniel's gifting was so that he could go out and influence the world and the power players. I love it in 1 Corinthians 12. It's talking about certain gifts. And then there's this little refrain. I believe it's 12:28. It says, and he set some in the church. That means all the other gifts are outside of the church. He set some in the church to be blank, and apostles, and so and so, and so and so. He set some, but that means the majority of the other ones are to be expressed outside of the church. Daniel was 10 times better. His gifting was spiritual, but the expression of it was practical. You know, if this was 2010, we'd say Daniel was in management consulting. Daniel was the go-to person when people had problems. He was the man who could fix it. Now, what's deep about this is, besides Daniel, Nehemiah, and Joseph, these 3 men, nothing negative is said about their character. And I don't have time to go into the story, but this is deep for those of you who may come under attack. When they couldn't, check this out, when they couldn't attack his character, and when they couldn't attack his aptitude, because he was 10 times smarter, you know what they attacked? His religion, his faith. That's a word for somebody. So they went to the king and they said, there's this guy who won't bow down to the image, and he prays 3 times a day, and they go on this long soliloquy. In other words, he was so competent at what he did that the only thing that they could try to attack was his faith. And you gotta get this. Daniel is living in an incredibly vicious environment where they're trying to Babylonialize him, so to speak. But it says he purposed in his heart not to defile himself. Here's a good place for a pause. What have you purposed in your heart? We have an 8-week teaching series called Non-Negotiables. Non-negotiables. What are your non-negotiables? Do you have them documented? Do you review them frequently? Now, what I love so much about Daniel is in Daniel 6:3, listen to this. Again, I'm giving you the overview. If you want to study his life, you got to get the teaching series. It says, then Daniel, I like this, then Daniel distinguished himself above the governors and the satrap because an excellent spirit was in him. And the king gave thought to setting him over the whole nation. Why did Daniel, this is so important for believers, because believers want to be set above because they read their Bibles in the morning before they go to work. Believers want to be promoted because they pray on a train ride to work. Or that because they go to church on Sunday. But Daniel distinguished himself in the world because he had an excellent spirit. And you know what excellence is? Here's my definition of excellence. Excellence is doing the best you can on the level that you're on. Are you doing the best you can in your studio apartment? Are you doing the best you can in your low-paying job? Are you doing the best you can in your saving with the savings that you have? Excellence is doing the best you can on the level that you're on. See, you want to be a person of excellence. Proverbs 22:29 says, if you see a man who excels at his work, listen carefully, it says he will not stand before mere men. In other words, if you excel, your gift will, Proverbs 18:16, make room for you. There's so many people who want more room, but they don't want to put the time in to develop more gift. So they live their lives perpetually dissatisfied with the room that they have. But my question is always, what are you doing with the gift? Is the room the root or the fruit? It says Daniel distinguished himself because an excellent spirit was in him. Proverbs 22:29, one more time. If you see a man who excels at his work, he won't stand before mere men. You know why you want to be a person of excellence? I believe we have a teaching on this. The power of excellence, I believe it is called. You want to be a person of excellence. Let's write this down. Because the opportunity of your lifetime is only available during the lifetime of that opportunity. And you don't want to get the opportunity of a lifetime and you're unprepared. I mean, what would have happened had Joseph gone before Pharaoh and all of a sudden he was just a bitter person, angry with his brothers, nasty? What would have happened had he not interpreted the dream of the butler and the baker? What would have happened to Ruth if the one day that Boaz noticed her in the field, she was angry over the fact that she lost her first husband and not working or just being lazy and sloppy? The opportunity of a lifetime is only available for the lifetime of that opportunity. So you want to make sure you can nail it. But if you're not a person of excellence, you won't seize the moment. It said that he distinguished himself. Aren't you tired of people who want to distinguish themselves because they brown nose, or because they play politics, or because of nepotism? It says Daniel distinguished himself because he had an excellent spirit. The next statement or verse that I want to talk about as it relates to Daniel is found in Daniel 6:28. I took it out of the New American Standard Bible, but it says Daniel, I love this so much. In the New American Bible, it says Daniel enjoyed success. Notice, now this is the New American Standard. Some of the other translations won't render it like that. But notice it didn't say Daniel was successful. Do you know the number of people who are successful but not enjoying it? There are people who tragically commit suicide. Stars, famous people, lots of money. We're all familiar with their faces. They're successful, but are they enjoying it, according to Daniel 6:28, New American Standard?